Well, welcome to Uncovering Your Superpower. I am Jen Worthington, and I started a company called Bluebird U that primarily focuses on coaching, mentoring, and training entrepreneurs and real estate professionals, as well as anyone who is seeking to find a little bit more purpose and meaning in their life or just needs a little direction to create the life of their dreams. So our event this month for August is Uncovering Your Superpower. And what we are going to do today is just explore a little bit about our identity, about who we are, and finding that superpower that's inside of us and finding that superhero that we're actually looking for. A lot of times we think that we need to look for things outside of ourselves, but what we find is most beneficial and will get us where we want to go the fastest is to go inside. And so that is what we're going to do today. You were given a link earlier to a ebook called Uncovering Your Superpower. Has everybody downloaded that? If you haven't, the link is in the chat. If you're watching this after the fact, we will get you a link as long as you have registered for the replay. So take a look at that when you get a chance. In that ebook, you're going to find kind of a recap of what we're going to cover today on the live, but you'll also have in there your Uncovering Your Superpower survey, which is going to be really the cornerstone and the key to this whole conversation that we're going to have about uncovering your superpower. In putting this class together or putting this event together, I wanted to accomplish a few things over the next hour to hour and a half. And the main thing that we want to get down to is uncovering who our unique superpower archetype or superhero archetype is. This is what we're all searching for to uncover in ourselves so that we can start creating the life that we want. We also want to learn how to stop forcing strategies that don't fit. I don't know how your experience is or what your experience is. I know in my own life, I sometimes feel like I've tried everything. Some things fit well, some things don't fit well. A lot of times we try and force ourselves into things that we should do or that we think other people want us to do. And you find that that is not very successful. One, you're not successful, and two, it doesn't feel good. And three, it doesn't help anyone for you to try and force yourself into archetypes, characteristics, characters that you're just not naturally. And then the big reason that I wanted to do this too was to talk about those plateaus that we all hit. Um, Whatever your journey is, wherever your journey is taking you, we all run into those roadblocks, those places where we're going along just fine and we just can't seem to break through. We try new systems, we try new programs, we try lots of things, and that tends to be things looking outside of ourselves that might help us get through whatever we're stuck in. But at the end of the day, breaking through those plateaus, breaking through those ceilings that you're stuck on is all going to be found right here by uncovering your superpower. And then when we do that, when we uncover our superpower, we find that our authentic self arises, comes out, and we are able to effortlessly walk into the life that we want to create for ourselves. Creating that life just becomes easier when we're doing those things that are aligned with ourselves. So, with that being said, the first thing I want to do, or the biggest part of this whole live event, is going to be talking about our superhero archetypes. So, I am going to real quick share my screen so that you guys can see our ebook. Do. if I can get to it. So fun. Okay. Oh, and then I lost my whole Zoom because I'm technologically savvy, folks. Let me tell you. Okay, we're going to do this. I think this will work. Are we there? Can we all see it? Little superhero, thumbs up if you can see. Fantastic. So this is the ebook that I created for the event just to kind of help you get through it. There's lots of really amazing information in here. Um, and it will go through our survey. Your survey is included in this. By taking a look at this survey and taking the survey itself, you will come to see your archetype. You'll discover what your superhero archetype is. And what we've done is broken this down into 4 superhero archetypes. Our superhero archetypes are going to be very closely aligned with some of you might have done in the past a disc assessment. And this is just 4 kind of characteristics about who we are, how we operate in the world, and how we operate with others. I like to think those are our superpowers, those are our hidden superheroes. Um, if you guys like superheroes, I always loved superheroes. You know that there's lots of different superheroes, right? There's not just a one superhero fits all kind of person. So we have lots of superheroes that have lots of different superpowers. And when they come together, it tends to form that perfect synergy that makes things move forward, that conquers the bad guy, that makes the world a better place, whatever that is. So, this is the same thing with our superhero archetypes. So, our first superhero archetype is going to be the visionary leader. This is the person who's the trailblazer. They've got lots of ideas, and they tend to be the forerunner, right? They're going to jump out in front. They're going to act first. They're going to take risks. They tend to have a high risk tolerance, and they tend to get a lot done, right? They tend to get a lot done. They can come across kind of as fearless or bold. They're going to shine whenever there's a new project, whenever there's a new business to launch, whenever management is needed or people need direction. This is your visionary leader. They're confident, they're decisive, they're high energy, they have a lot of forward motion, and they are just kind of that natural leader. So you see these people obviously in high level positions in businesses, or you'll see this a lot in entrepreneurs, people that are out there starting their own business. And maybe that's something that you see in yourself. Now, if you're a visionary leader, there are a couple of challenges that go along with that. You might be impatient with slower paced people. You might lack a little bit of focus. You might come across as pushy or controlling. You might over identify with results. That person who's very goal driven, like, we've got to hit these numbers, we've got to hit these targets, we've got to get to this place. Sometimes you value the destination a little bit more than you value the journey along the way. And you might have a hard time leveraging the assets of your team or your community when you're that visionary leader. Now, you're going to work well with a couple of the other archetypes, our support and comfort, our organizing and aligning archetypes are going to most closely work together with you to help make that vision that you have, your driving force, come through. So that is your number 1 visionary leader. One of the things that I did want to ask, and you guys can put this in the chat if you want to, can you think of any superheroes that might go along with that visionary leader goal or that visionary leader kind of drive in person. Um, these are people that do a lot of vision casting. They take risks. They're bold. They're doing all of those things that are kind of stepping out there, and they're kind of like sometimes I think the biggest personality in the room, or at least the most dominant. Ooh, ooh, ooh. I gotta open my chat so I can see. I know not everybody is familiar with superheroes because they don't have young boys that were always into the Avengers and DC Comics and all of the things. Okay, so some of the superheroes that we see in this character would be like Wonder Woman, right? She's a strong female. She leads with strength, integrity, vision. She doesn't back down from the battle. She's always searching for truth. She's a visionary leader. The other big one that I think most people know is Captain America. He is very much that visionary leader. He's actually the one that originally tried to bring together all of the other superheroes in the Avengers. And he embodies that kind of adherence to duty and leadership and clarity. And he's always wanting to bring people along on his journey for whatever that greater cause is to make the world a better place. Um, Other people that you might know or think of as Black Panther. He led the Wakanda people, and they were very innovative and visionary in everything that they did. He was also very much that leader that got people behind him. So your visionary leader is really good at bringing those people together that will go behind them to enact their vision. So our type two superhero archetype is the inspirational encourager. And this person kind of has that core energy of light, of hope, of possibility, of joy. They're the person that brings light. They uplift, they encourage. When they come into a room, it feels happier, it feels better, it feels more energy. You can almost feel the shift or the vibration in this inspirational encourager. They shine in speaking, teaching, storytelling. They are also really good at coaching or mentoring people. They can also see the best in somebody and then try and extract that from them and lead them down that kind of path. They're also big passion people. Um, and they can also be extremely visionary as well. They're magnetic and enthusiastic. They bring out the best in others. They're optimistic and emotionally intelligent. And they tend to foster a connection that's deep and a connection that can happen quite quickly because you feel comfortable with someone who is an inspirational encourager. Some of the challenges of our inspirational encouragers can be that they will avoid conflict in order just to keep that happy vibe going. Um, they also struggle sometimes with boundaries and overgiving or oversharing. And a lot of times that they can be needy for external validation if they're not grounded. And they can get caught in the idea generation mode without actually being able to follow through with things. I don't know if you guys know any of these inspirational encouragers. I would say I definitely, this is my superhero archetype, probably stronger than anything else. And for those of you that are here that do know me, you can probably see some of those positives and negatives in the way that I operate. Now, we can always try and plug the holes in our archetype, but it's also okay to have holes in your archetype, right? It's okay to not be all end all of all things for all people. You want to make sure that there's still space for others, right? If I can do everything on my own, if everything is within me, then I don't need to rely on other people. And if I'm not in community with other people, I'm missing out on so much that this life has to offer. So be sure if you are in this encourager and inspirer role that you are not taking on too terrible much, that you are not feeling that weight of perfectionism that can sometimes isolate you and keep you apart from others. One thing I will say about the inspirational encourager as well is that they can often always see the greatest in other people, but sometimes they lack that ability to turn their eye inward and see the greatness in themselves and give themselves credit for the things that they do. But this is our inspirational encourager. Does anybody have any idea who might be that inspirational encourager in the superhero world? I can think of a few people that spring to mind. You've got Spider-Man. He's always trying to see the best in others. He's always um, working really hard to make sure that things are coming together the way that he wants them to. And then also Captain Marvel, she is a great example as well. She's empowering, she's bold, she's fierce, and she inspires other people, again, to come along towards a greater vision that is going to be for the ultimate betterment of the world around her. Now, our type 3 person is our compassionate supporter. Our compassionate supporter is somebody who's empathetic, who has that weight of presence. They are a nurturer and they tend to be extremely reliable. This is the person that you might call the anchor or the space holder or the heart-centered healer. This person is so important in every community because they tend to ground that community or that friend group or that business. They tend to be there, be that soothing presence, and create safety, connection, and quiet strength wherever they are. So the compassionate supporter is definitely someone you want to know or be. They're going to shine in one-on-one support, in client care. This is likely one of your best friends. They are very good at fostering and growing relationships. And they also are really good at letting that compassion come through when they're resolving conflicts. These are also going to be key figures where you're looking to maintain culture, connection, or morale. Their strengths are that they're very empathetic and intuitive. They're excellent listeners. They're dependable. They're a calming presence. And they oftentimes can sense those unspoken needs of others. Some of their challenges can be that they can neglect their personal needs by caring for others. A lot of mothers are mothers or take that motherly role. We are a lot of times in danger of doing that, right? We're so busy taking care of everybody else. We forget sometimes to take care of ourselves. Your compassionate supporter, this is also somebody who's always asking how they can help. They're the person that you go to when you need someone to understand. And they're the person who is going to be that rock through any storm, right? Your visionary leader may just want to get to the next rock, jump to the next island, do whatever the next thing is, rather than staying and sticking through a course. Your inspirational leader may just want to try and pretend it doesn't exist, but your compassionate supporter, this is the person that can stand there in your grief and in the troubled waters and be that anchor for you, and for the organization and for the team. I went through a really difficult time in my life when I lost my first husband, and I was really adrift for a long time. One of these compassionate supporters came into my life, and his name was Jim, and he was the first person after having such a great loss who could sit with me and just let me hurt. He just let me hurt. He was a rock in my storm. He didn't try and run from it. He didn't try and fix it. He didn't try and make it anything other than it was. He was my compassionate supporter. And it wasn't until I met him and allowed him to sit with me that I was actually able to start healing. So these compassionate supporters, these are essential people in your life. And if you are a compassionate supporter, sometimes I think we take on aspects of these archetypes depending on the relationship that we're in or the position that we're in at a given time. But this compassionate supporter, these are the people I think make for the best part of any community group, that compassionate supporter. I shouldn't say they're the best, but gosh golly gee, I sure do like them a lot. They're essential, right? They're essential. So if you are a compassionate supporter, hats off to you for being able to do hard things and have hard conversations and sit in hard places without feeling the need to fix it or make it better. That is an amazing gift. Now, our final archetype is our dun, 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 our analyzing ally. This is the person who is always seeing order in the chaos, always able to make that order from the chaos. They see the details, they are strategic, they're also stable. They're big on understanding the need for and the mechanics of a system. These are our big time doers, right? Lots of times they're the architect and then they're the person that can execute on the vision to make it become a reality. So your analyzing ally, this is a very precious skill. You are going to shine when systematizing is needed, when automations are needed, standard operating procedures. If you are somebody who can come in, one thing that's been really big in recent years are these organizers, right? People that can come into your house and create order out of chaos. And I don't know, I think as a type 2 myself, organization is not my strong suit. And those of you that know me personally know that organization is not my strong suit. And I absolutely need one of these analyzing allies at least. I probably need 10, if I'm being honest, in their life to help me make order out of the chaos. I can throw ideas and dreams and visions all day long. What I have trouble doing is being able to put all of those together in a form that then moves forward. So these analyzing allies, these are the people that can get shit done, and they are essential for our lives. They are logical, structured, detail-oriented, excellent planners, amazing implementers. They're consistent, dependable, efficient, strong analytical and problem solving skills, and they can bring calm and order to moving parts. There's nothing like having a analyzing ally in your ranks uh, when you are looking for things to get done. Now, some challenges for our analyzing allies, and you can probably guess this, right? They have a really hard time getting stuck in the minutia, in those details. And sometimes they have a problem moving forward because you can analyze something to death and overthink it and never actually take action on it. So we call that analysis paralysis. This is a danger for our analyzing allies. They also sometimes can come across a little bit cold. They might resist a lot of emotion. They certainly aren't keen on spontaneity, things that are not ordered and organized can throw them off a bit. They also can sometimes undervalue emotional or intuitive inputs. I am married to an analyzing ally, and I can tell you that it is amazing to have somebody that can put things in order. However, sometimes it is frustrating when they don't quite get that emotional or intuitive unction that I have as an inspirational um, leader, an inspirational encourager. But it is a fun thing to have, and they are very necessary um, in our lives. Everybody needs an analyzing ally. Now, think of a superhero that would be an analyzing ally. There's a few that come to mind for me. Our analyzing allies, Batman, right? Extremely analytical and definitely somebody that has a very ordered sense about things. Batman was never very emotional. I don't know if you guys saw any of the Batman movies, but none of the people that played Batman were very emotionally deep. They weren't breaking down, they weren't celebrating, they were very ordered and analytical in the way that they thought about things, in the way that they portrayed that character of Batman. But master strategist definitely thrives in logic and planning and systems, right? Batman had a whole suit of systems that he wore with him because he didn't necessarily have like the ability to not be hurt. He just did everything that he could. He planned every way that he could to protect himself from being hurt. Doctor Strange, also one of those analyzing allies, right? That doctor mentality, that very ordered way of doing things. Even though, if you guys know Doctor Strange, he was definitely pushed into a mystical world, but even there, he found the order and was able to manipulate it because of the order that he found in it. Now, we have these four archetypes, and we can definitely, if you haven't already started to see yourself, maybe you see a little bit of yourself in all the archetypes, but you know you're one way more than the others. Why is it important for us to know who we are? Why is it important for us to know where we fit in this scheme of things, in this realm, and in this world? Um, the biggest reason is because when we know ourselves, when we know what our strengths are, we can start leveraging those strengths. We can start putting energy towards those places that we know we will excel. And then we can start building a community of people that can help us with the parts we're missing. If I didn't have people in my life that were analyzing allies and that were my compassionate supporters that could help keep me grounded, then it would be very difficult to build the things that I'm building and the things that I've built. It would be very difficult to cover all the bases. So when I know who I am and I start acting in the way that I act, and then I'm trusting for the rest to come to me, it makes it much easier for me to create a life that I want for myself, for my family, and it makes it easy for me to bring people along who will benefit from the vision that I have and thereby be able to create the life that they want. So it's important for us to stop forcing ourselves into places we don't fit and start using our strengths and assets to create the life that we want to create. Now, how does knowing who we are help us break through these plateaus that we run into? Knowing who we are gives us the keys and strategies that we need to find those missing pieces. When you're hitting a ceiling, whether it's in your career, whether it's in motherhood or fatherhood or friendship or relationships, when you're hitting those blocks and those ceilings, it is because there's something for you to learn about yourself, right? Once we learn those lessons, we break through. A lot of times what we try and do instead, again, is we're looking outside, right? I know in business, for me, I have thought, oh, well, I'm just missing the right system. If I just had one more software program, one more contact management software, one more lead generation source, one more marketing campaign or strategy, it would take me to where I need to go. In the end, though, it's not one more thing. It's not that. It's these 6 inches right here in between these two ears that gets tangled up and confused and stops knowing who I am and operates outside of myself, that runs me into that wall, and then I'll back up and take a look at it and run into it again and run into it again. What do they say? The definition of insanity is doing the same over and over, same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. Um, that's definitely, sometimes I question my sanity because I will run into that same wall and then back up and finally say, oh my gosh, it's not out there. It's not even that there's a wall there, right? There is no spoon. That's what they say in the Matrix, right? That's the whole trick, right? It's what's between your head, what's in your head, between your ears. That is where you're getting tangled up. That is where your plateaus are coming from or where your stuckness is coming from. We see our own limitations and then we start feeding those limitations. Small little thoughts, small little things that come into our head and start feeding our what I like to call my human, starts feeding my human, right? I start thinking and acting in ways that limit me, and then that's going to keep me right below this wall, right? I cannot get through it because I have so many limiting beliefs. When we find our superhero, when we find out who we are, what our strengths are, and we start leaning into those, telling a different story to ourselves, changing those beliefs, we go from limitation to boundlessness and we can break through. We can break through quite easily. In fact, you will be amazed. As I have been really deep in a deep dive for almost a year now, on a lot of analyzing a lot of the beliefs that I have about myself, about business, about life, about everything. It is so fun to say, I can change my belief in an instant. I can change my belief in an instant. If it is not a belief that is serving me, I don't have to hold on to that belief. And I'm getting to a place where my mental discipline in that exercise is so much better. This last Sunday, I was playing music at church, and I love to play and sing, and I love the musicians that are in the band. And we recently at our church, they hired, it's a part-time position. It's a worship ministry coordinator, and she is absolutely amazing. I really like her a lot. This last week, though, was really kind of busy for me. I had a lot of stuff going on for the family, for business, for this live event. There was just a lot going on. So I didn't feel like I was quite where I wanted to be in my responsibilities for leading the worship band. And Thursday, we have rehearsal. I got to rehearsal, and our worship coordinator was there. She was singing that week with me, and I was very intimidated, right? I felt underprepared, and I kind of was a little upset about how rehearsal went because I didn't think it was as great as I wanted it to be in my head. Then we get to Sunday morning, and I am just spinning the stories. I don't know if any of you spin stories when you're going into a social situation. I'm a very extroverted person most of the time. However, sometimes I like to call myself an extroverted introvert because I can be the life of the party, but I really also like myself, my own time, my own space. But I was telling all of these stories about what the worship ministry coordinator must be thinking, what the other musicians were thinking, and I'm running around getting ready, and I was dreading going to church on Sunday. I go downstairs to walk out the door, and I'm like, what are you doing? Why are you telling these stories? This is absolutely ridiculous. Just stop. You don't have to tell these stories. You don't have to make up what other people are thinking or not thinking. And I left it all there, and I walked out the door. We got to church, sang, it was amazing, everything was wonderful. Come to find out, after the service, the worship ministry coordinator and I were talking, and she had a really stressful week, and she was so worried about not doing enough and was, thinking that everybody was frustrated with her and all of these things. And I was like, this is hilarious. I had spun this whole story in my brain, and I let it go, which was the right thing to do. And it opened me up to be able to find out that people aren't thinking about you that way. People are. They don't have time. They're worried about themselves. When you go into a situation, when you go into a social situation or friendship situation, or you're meeting somebody for something and you're running late and you're worried that they're all upset with you. They're not. Don't even start with that. Let those beliefs go because you can change them in an instant, and know that that person is just super excited to get to hang out with you. What if they were just super excited to hang out with you? What if they were super excited to have you come visit? What if your business appointments were super excited to talk to you because you were going to help them solve a problem, not try and sell them something? What if you told yourself a better story that helped you go into each space in a different way, that made success the likely outcome for every interaction, whatever that success might look like? Now, when we start telling different stories, Start operating in a way that is natural to our strengths and abilities. We can easily build the community that we need or the team that we need that can help fill in all of the gaps. You can't be good at everything, right? Even if we look at our superheroes, the superheroes banded together because one of them wasn't sufficient to do everything. They had the Avengers, or when I was a kid, we had the Justice League with the Wonder Twins, who were always my favorite. Wonder Twins, shape of water, shape of a gorilla. They were always my favorite. Um, but even superheroes know they are not an island unto themselves. They need each other. When we know ourselves, we're free to be ourselves. When we build our community, we can easily move in authenticity, in our true selves, and trust that all the gaps are filled. And that is the power of uncovering your superpowers. Now, you guys each have the link to your superpower manual, or your Uncovering Your Superpower manual that has the survey in it. I encourage you guys to go through that book, really think about each archetype, really read those questions, answer honestly, and figure out where you fit. You might be surprised. You might be surprised where you are. And keep it, right? Keep it on your drive because you'll want to come back and reference it from time to time because you aren't always going to be the same. When I the first time I ever took one of these assessments, I was a completely different place and a completely different read than I do now. Like all of my numbers are so different, except for the analyzing ally that tends to stay really low. But my other three, they can change places depending on where I'm at in my life. So keep it. It is a great tool to have so that you can constantly be revisiting, constantly coming inward to find the solutions to your outside problems. I really appreciate you guys being here today and sitting with me in this time. I am so grateful for each and every one of you that is listening to this, that is contributed to my life, to this community that we're building here at Bluebird. And I hope that you have an amazing day. We'll see you around town.